don't want to do too much with everyone right here. I don't feel
Community members, legal observers, and media are not allowed to get in or out of this area. These are paramilitary tactics to remove 80 tents.
Get your hands off of us! You're not protecting people!
No more Indians. You guys want to be like us.
A year ago, I witnessed a dismantling of a tent city.
I'm sorry, you can't come here.
At one point, up to 400 people lived in tents along the sidewalks of Hastings Street in the heart of Vancouver's downtown East Side neighborhood. Nothing seen here addresses root issues: poverty, addiction, mental health, and a lack of affordable housing. Shelter and belongings trashed, with no plan for what's next. Residents left with nowhere to go. So tent cities continue to pop up, and the cycle continues. It all appears just plain mean.
Just don't escalate. Don't touch him.
Leave my stuff alone!
No answers, no response to stealing people's stuff.
Okay. It's my home, my security, my warmth. It's where I keep my food and everything I own.
I've educated you, okay?
No.
Okay.
No, it's a bylaw. Let it go. I'm not touching my stuff. You're not touching my stuff. Oh, you.
For this neighborhood, it's the latest crisis of many. And what's at stake are lives. Thousands have died down here. Ellie survived the streets and now watches the backs of her peers.
But most importantly, I'm a survivor. And I want people to know they can be survivors too.
Others, like my nephew Cody, are here to help the best they can.
I lost so many loved ones down here at the moment, it's kind of hard for me to think about it.
But the stigma remains. People here are just junkies and criminals. Residents believe they are at the front lines of two wars: a war on the poor and the drug war. I don't know if those are proper terms, but it feels like it.
So.
Yeah.
Feels like a war to me.
I know what this is about. Stop it, please. Don't pick on us.
I'm not picking on you.
No, you are. You are. You know why?
Why is that?
We've been here for almost 2 years.
Yeah. This is a public park, Susie. Everybody has the right to use it, and we have the duty to make sure it
It's
stays.
a black land.
It's
It's
fine.
native
It's a public
land.
park. Right?
This area, I'll tell you.
Yeah, if it's native, why don't you respect
No,
the land and
no,
keep
no,
it
no,
clean?
no.
Ron, can you give us some space, please?
We know.
Steps back, please.
He's the one who was
What's got to be done?
Take a couple steps back for us, please.
Almost a year to the day after the Hastings decampment, yet another tent city.
I found all my stuff was sprawled out over here like some thief just went through it. Just went through it all really fast.
Weston Shoup is cleaning up camp after getting robbed.
They got robbed with all these cops around?
Yeah, well, they sit down there and they watch it happen and they don't do anything.
Jeez.
Thanks, security.
His roots lay in Bonaparte First Nation. He lived a nomadic life, living in multiple towns in BC's interior.
When I became an arborist, I didn't have a home. I just kind of stayed in hotels and everything. And that was one of my favorite jobs. I love being an arborist.
He says he's here because of a financial dispute with Revenue Canada that left him broke, and a breakup left him without a home to return to.
Once you're here, it's hard to get out. I don't like living down here. I'd rather get a job.
Crab Park encampment is unique. In January 2022, the BC Supreme Court rejected the Vancouver Parks Board attempt to get an injunction to clear it out.
It just brought tears of joy to my eyes because we win. In some small way, we win.
I'm going to just echo some of what Commissioner Digby said.
The Parks Board is now tasked to manage it. Commissioners and staff admit it's challenging.
The park board's incredibly underfunded as it is, let alone trying to solve this.
To control what's labeled unsafe and unclean conditions, crews removed 90 tons of material, including standing structures residents had constructed, replaced with these brand new tents.
Rangers, cops here all the time. I don't like it.
The front line in the drug war can be found here.
Crab Park has been around for a couple of years now.
Vancouver Area Network of Drug Users was established to help improve and extend the lives of drug users, run by drug users.
It takes a great deal of courage to break through the stigma, to come through the doors, and as you can see, it's a wonderful place.
Just a child, Ellie ran away from her home in northern BC.
I was a 12-year-old homeless girl. I was on the streets at 12. I had no idea what I was getting myself into, but it was better than foster care. It was better than what they would have done to me. I went to those who had the power, those who were the dope dealers, and I lived that way for 10 years until 21.
Western Aboriginal Harm Reduction Society is out there. There's Ellie.
Now she works with WARS, the Western Aboriginal Harm Reduction Society, where she works outreach, bringing food to people living on the streets. At Vandu, I talked with Garth Mullins, a journalist and host of the award-winning podcast, Crackdown.
There are 7 people dying a day here. It's been going on for more than 8 years.
Garth's been fighting the drug war since the 90s. An addict, he became an activist for needle exchange, safe injection sites, and decriminalization, back when harm reduction was barely a concept.
It's worse now than I've ever known it. It seems like the government just stands back and it's just decided to abandon the area and let people die. But people who are using right now are using street fentanyl. It's mixed with benzodiazepines or is mixed with animal tranquilizers like xylazine that are meant for horses and cattle. We had a HIV epidemic that was huge here, and we had China white heroin, which was killing people, and so they declared a public health crisis.
For a time in the early aughts, there was a feeling maybe they could win this thing.
We organized 25 years ago, we started this organization, the Vancouver Area Network of Drug Users, and we fought. So we were getting these reforms, we were getting a few victories.
Just because you're addicted to drugs doesn't mean you have to die.
I had family that was already involved in doing that down this way, so I was recruited to come help where I can.
In this war, it's important to acknowledge the small victories. At the corner of Hastings and Carroll, you can walk through this door into an oasis. Culture Saves Lives is a program that's part of the PHS Community Services Society. PHS also runs Insight, the safe injection site, neighborhood food programs, a mobile overdose prevention unit.
Today was a really good day. Mary's made pancakes, we've fed the community, sang for people. When we can uplift their spirits and make them feel at home or safe just for a short amount of time, we consider that a win.
Should have been ready 6 weeks ago. Yeah.
Days later, I'm back. Weston appears to have moved on, but while getting coffee, I meet Doug.
So what was your story, Doug? Why did you end up on the street yourself?
Because of COVID, couldn't pay the bills anymore. And girlfriend was an addict and it just wasn't working for me and found myself living in a tent.
Why do you keep coming down to here?
To check on my friends that are still homeless.
He's housed and employed now. Doug introduces me to Lynn Thompson.
I'm from Treaty 4. I'm an I wish you were an
and Makita Martin, two well-known figures in the downtown east side. The trio gets me behind the fence as they inspect the brand new setup.
These are $500 tents.
You know, any place you reside, there are rules.
So just to be clear, you guys are that this is a favorable situation?
Oh, absolutely. Wouldn't you think so?
This way, it's safe.
We had 29 residents and only 6 have moved over.
I'm concerned about whether or not these new bylaws are going to stand up in court.
The board convened to vote on amendments to its bylaws. Residents fear the new rules grant extraordinary powers of search and seizure to park staff.
There hasn't been consultation. We didn't get any of these papers that they gave out.
I call on governments to take action on this urgent issue.
It's a national crisis. In February, federal housing advocate Marie-Josée Houle challenged the feds to fix it.
Every day is a matter of life and death for people living in encampments.
Get out of the tent.
She wrote, forced evictions make people more unsafe.
Cousins are in there. Do not ruin them. My children's cousins are in there. Do not ruin them. I'm putting it on my back. I'm putting it on my back.
Safety is on the minds of the Parks Board, according to Parks Commissioner Tom Digby. He reached out to APTN and wrote, there was nothing consistent with human rights or dignity with the original encampment site.
The rats and the needles and the feces that had asked for the park board to step in and make.
He defended his ranger, saying all interactions are trauma-informed, but admits the interaction with Sue was not handled brilliantly. In the end,
All in favor? The motion is carried unanimously.
When I read these amendments, I see an attempt to fix the struggles faced by the unhoused by increased surveillance and regulation of their everyday lives.
I grew up watching Bobby Orr play hockey because they were the farm club at the Boston Bruins.
the day after the Parks Board meeting, I catch up with Calvin Sophie, a volunteer with Stop the Sweeps, a coalition of locals concerned about the well-beings of their neighbors, here to bear witness and document interactions between park rangers and residents.
You know, trying to humiliate us and make it so tough that we leave the park.
It's quiet this morning, a beautiful, relatively stress-free day. Calvin helps Joe tear down. Joe's already relocated to the new tent area. He's helping a friend pack. A park board deadline for campers to move off the hill has come and gone. The rangers and the garbage trucks are expected any day now. At 65, Joe has some stories to tell, colorful ones, like the time a Vegas pool shark took him under his wing. I guess he was that good. Calvin is skeptical about the long-term viability of the new camp.
There's an incredibly short list of people who are allowed to stay there. If those people leave, their spot is going to be dismantled, and it's just kind of eviction by attrition.
But for today, Joe and his friend have a home.
The way I see it, especially looking from an Indigenous lens, you know, when there's bad things going on at home and nobody's standing up for them or nobody's protecting them, people will run away and come to the downtown east side.
I have some, I think.
CSL is about culture and spiritual care. That's why Denny drops in.
I've been clean and sober 14 years. That's why I'm here, because of, you know, the culture, the singing, because that's where we have to go to wake up that little boy or girl that's been traumatized.
On this day, things heat up just a bit.
It's going to be every 2 hours in perpetuity. There will be a round of rangers and VPD present.
You know, we look out for each other as best we can.
Athena is a former resident. Here after her landlord, without telling her, sold the home. The new owners kicked her out. She's on disability now, but at one point she was an Aboriginal outreach support worker at BC Housing. The new rules concern her.
We're not allowed to use any type of mattress or foam because they say that they're flammable. They have a whole slew of lists of right down to how many shoes we're gonna have.
She's got a home now. Today she's back to lend a hand. It's laundry day.
I've tried my best to be here. I did tell everyone when we first started here that, you know, people didn't dip out on me, so I'm not going to just dip out on anyone here.
We have work to do. No bullying, no talking behind each other's back.
In the 90s, when HIV was spreading around here, we were trying to get needles. I sometimes had the same syringe for a month. I had to sharpen it on a match striker. They couldn't see us as human beings, but suddenly they saw us as disease vectors. And so that's one of the things we got from that HIV was access to syringes.
Good evening, welcome to APTN National News. I'm Dennis Ward. COVID-19, or the coronavirus as it's most commonly known, has been gripping world and national headlines for the past few months.
I think about COVID, and the same thing happened. I remember a doctor called me up in one of the first days after it was declared a global pandemic. And the doctor said, oh my God, drug users are going to be running around scoring drugs, spreading the virus. What do drug users need to stay at home and self-isolate? I said, drugs. Very quickly, this policy emerged in British Columbia where you could prescribe, doctors could prescribe hydromorphone.
Compassion, that concern for people who are struggling, does not mean that anything goes. We still have expectations around safety.
He now sees the pendulum swing the other way.
When will the Prime Minister make it illegal to smoke crack in a hospital room?
Why won't the Liberals be honest with Canadians and just end their radical drug policies?
There's people in our society that never gave up wanting to punish us, that never gave up on wanting to banish us off the streets, to throw everybody in jail.
We're in a pretty dangerous and unforgiving area.
Yeah, one of our friends died over there.
Being down here, just constantly losing loved ones and really good people.
It's eviction day, 8 days past the original deadline. Residents were told 8 a.m. It begins half an hour early.
The occupants of the shelters are involved in an ongoing appeal process.
Yeah, you can just film right there. Thanks.
The tents have notices on them. This morning, these tents that are involved in the appeal process have been forcibly dismantled.
Do you not want the public to see what you guys are doing here? Is that why you're blocking me?
You're free to film.
Park Board Commissioner Tom Digby reminds APTN that this is not a decampment. Approved residents can now move back into the new tent area.
What's your dog's name? Melly. Melly?
Not wanting to live under the new rules, Farrell Two Hearts isn't sticking around.
And then the manager said that we had to get rid of him.
Farrell lost his apartment because he wouldn't get rid of his puppy. He takes a moment to go care for his dog. I turn my attention back to the Rangers.
Park Rangers, green tent.
Still packing.
Still packing? Do you want a couple more minutes?
Yep.
You were put on notice that this was under appeal. I see you removing bedding, clothing.
Hey, you.
I go back to check on Farrell. He assures me Melly's bark is worse than his bite.
He's got a deep voice, that's all he was. He was like, hey, yo, put me on camera. That's what he's saying. He's got a deep voice. He's like, hey, yo, I want to be on camera. He gets mad at the things I get mad at. I walk around with my head down because I don't like people looking at me. Self-esteem thing, right? And he picks up on that. So when people stare at me too long, stare at us too long, he gets mad. He's just a good dog, that's all.
I doubt that they're gonna let them, because they want it all gone, right?
If you spend any amount of time in the downtown east side, despite all the death, despite all the trauma, there is a community that cares for one another.
I feel no shame serving the people here and staying here until every last voice is heard. I was a voiceless youth, and now I'm on the executive board. 7 years my people vote me in. Proud to serve.
People look rougher because the drugs are rougher. People still care for each other. People are still trying to save each other. I've saved a bunch of people from overdose. Everybody in this building has saved way more people than I have.
People displaced, 2 people died, and again, no justice for the survivors, right?
That's the amazing thing, is in all of this government abandonment of people, people are still looking out for each other.
Cody says family always turns up when the singing starts, and sure enough, these two carvers turn out to be cousins meeting for the first time. And he reminds those back home not to forget relatives.
In order to keep our people safe and give them the opportunity to heal, I think it's important that, you know, our reserves and our chief and council are open to the idea of harm reduction, and also are humble enough to admit when they don't know something.
Yeah, I'll do our best. Sometimes I leave.
And now we come to the final act. So just tell me, where are you going from here? Do you know?
No, I don't. How are you doing?
Doing all right, man.
The housing crisis manifests in this inhabitants of the park. It's an issue that's much larger than park maintenance. This forced dismantling of people's homes is clearly not approaching it in a way that recognizes the humanity, and I would say also the human rights.
Tyler Miracle and Matthew Fairman disappeared on the Bay of Quinte on the night of April 26, 2015.
I thought it was in between those two trees right there.
I think they said it was right here and between these trees.
Both families say in the chaos of their grief, the boat was buried just days after it was pulled from the bay. Some people in the community convinced them it was Mohawk tradition. But that never really made sense. The boat is a key piece of our ongoing investigation. So when I asked them if we could dig it back up, they quickly agreed.
They found the boat.
It's not even fair that we have to do this. So it's my